Shalom, family. This is Or Ibri, author of Making Your Enemy Your Footstool, investor and consultant. So I'm coming to you with a video, and I just want to talk about a recent experience that I had. We just completed Atonement. So for those of y'all who don't know, Day of Atonement, or more popularly known as Yom Kippur, is the day that people think that you're supposed to go. You fast, you go to a very lowly state and you just spend the day asking the Most High for forgiveness. Um, a lot of people think atonement is asking for forgiveness of your sins. But if you actually look up the Hebrew word for atonement, it actually means to cover. Um, my renditioning or understanding, and this is me, um, once you put something out into the universe, you can't take it back. So when you're going to the Most High, especially when it comes to Day of Atonement, people are asking for forgiveness, aka the forgetfulness of the sin. But when it goes out there, you can't take it back. So when it says covering, it's not a taking it away because you can't. It's more of a putting something over it to mask it. And it's very important to understand that and knowing that the things that you do, because this is where a lot of people make mistakes at. And this is, not going into a tangent, kind of what the video is about, but not to go too far off left. But a lot of people feel like if they do something, they can just say, I'm sorry, and they're forgiven, and that's it. And that's a problem with that. There's an issue with that. You can't just say, I'm sorry, because whatever you put out into the universe is there. So atonement is to cover, not to erase, but to just cover. To say, hey, what you put out there is out there. We see it, but we're going to cover over it. And if you elevate yourself or relocate yourself to a different circumstance than that which is supposed to come back to you because of that, it's going to miss you. So that's the importance of understanding the difference between atoning meaning to cover and atoning meaning to take away. But in my atonement, especially the last couple of years, this year, one of the things I want to focus on is, we have our commandments, which we're commanded to do. Me, I follow Torah, so things like keeping Shabbat, dietary laws, holy days, things like that. I observe doing those things. New moons, festivals, all of those things. I do those things. Um, so with me doing those things, taking the construct of the whole Bible, in the book of First John, it says sin is transgression of the law. So as I know it, sin is transgression of the law, of the commandments, of the instruction that the Most High gave us. So we have those. Now, myself personally, I also believe that with the commandments that we have in Scripture, the Most High also gives you living commandments, as in He gives you things that He wants you to do in this day. He talks to you in this day, or He sends messages to you in some way, shape, or form in this day for something that the Most High wants you to complete. So you have His living word, which is what He gives you, the instructions He gives you to do now, as well as His written word, which are the commandments that we keep in order to have a prosperous life and whatnot. So some of the living commandments, a lot of us fall short on doing those. Um, and so I really, did a reflection during this Day of Atonement, and I was like, because here's the thing: there are a lot of things that we fall short on. There are a lot of things that we can do better, or a lot of things that we can get right. And it can be very overwhelming trying to do all of those things. Now, that's not an excuse not to try. But the thing is, you want to try and be a little bit better every day. That's the goal. Because a lot of times, you're dropped into this life and you don't even know what this life is that you've been dropped into, and then you just got to start living and living. And then by the time you realize, oh snap, I'm living wrong, you've already been pulled into that riptide of life. And it's hard to fight against that, fight against the current of life. But you got to fight until you're able to get to the shore to start over. But you have to figure out, okay, where can I do better at? So I know on my atonement, one of the main things that I wanted to focus on is being more grateful. So I know one of the things that I struggled with is gratitude for the circumstances and situations that I have. Now that's me personally. Everyone has something different, but I do know, looking back over my life, I've had a very wonderful life. Now, being in it, sometimes I don't always get that. Sometimes I spend a lot of times looking at the wrongs that I've did, the mistakes that I've made, the the bad advice I've taken or that I've followed or that I've even given myself, decisions that I could have done differently, people that I could have not dealt with and dealt with, and so sometimes I beat myself up about those things, but now I really want to focus on just being gracious for the life that I have. Now that doesn't mean be delusional. I don't want to be delusional. Like I'm gonna call a spade, but you can find the goodness in majority of situations. And once you find that goodness in the majority of situations, then it's easy for you to kind of change the circumstances. And that's the thing, like how you see the world is going to dictate how the world is to you, because that's what you're going to start attracting to you. So I know for me personally, one of the things I really wanted to focus on was, hey, let me just be more gracious, be more grateful, have more gratitude, because then I'll start attracting more of the life in which I feel like I should be living. So a lot of things, a lot of the things that have went wrong, I can admit was me not being gracious about a circumstance, and because I wasn't gracious about it, I end up removing myself from it, or I didn't get the full experience of that circumstance and situation that I could have. And I look at, let's just say for instance, my junior year in my junior no. I don't want to go to my junior year in college. I want to go to my junior year in high school. My junior year in high school, I ended up going to a Christian school in Tampa, and I was there, for basketball or whatnot. And my entire time being there, all I could do was pick out everything that was wrong at the school. Now, I had been in public school my entire life, my entire, schoolhood life up until that point. And then prior to that, being in public school my entire life. So, in public school, I was a quote unquote model student. Like, I didn't get into fights. I wasn't a distraction or disruption or problem student. Maybe had been written up from, pre-K up until 10th grade. I maybe have been written up maybe 2 or 3 times, and it's for little stuff like talking too much. I was a talker when I was in elementary school, stuff like that. Nothing major at all. So when I got to the private school, it was a big shock for me. So I focused on, all of the things that was an issue, and because I wasn't grateful for the circumstance and situations that I was in being there, when I got offered a life-changing opportunity, I squandered it away. So I went there, my junior year, played basketball, and it was, like I said, it was different. But I was complaining about everything. Why did we have to shave? Wearing uniforms. Couldn't have my hair touching my collar. The curriculum was different. It didn't make sense. I had to drive almost an hour to school every day. It was only like in the high school section from 9th grade to 12th grade, it was maybe 4 or 5 black kids. Then the whole high school, maybe a grand total of at the most 10 black kids from kindergarten to 12th grade. Why do we have to wait for the kindergartners to use the bathroom? Why are they going to their bathroom breaks on our class switching breaks, and we're not allowed to go to the bathroom during class? All type of stuff I was complaining about. And so I didn't want to go back. And so my senior year, I went back for like the first few weeks. And the whole time I was fighting the kick. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. Da, da, da. All these things that had nothing to do with the original reason why I went there, which was to get more exposure from basketball, which what was happening. Like I went from a kid who no one really knew, sitting on the bench, at a public high school, to being a starter, third team all state, getting college letters and college offers and recruitment and playing on great AAU teams, all of that. But I'm so busy worrying about all of these things that were not important, that didn't matter, complaining and not being grateful for the opportunity. So my head coach at the time is a very wealthy man. He heard that I wanted to leave. Like I didn't make it. I didn't hide the fact that I was disgruntled being there. He heard that I wanted to leave. So I remember he called me into his office. He had his own business. Called me into his office. A couple of my other teammates, they worked at the business with him, and he had them doing, little ancillary stuff like making copies and filling, just doing little stuff just to put some money in their pocket. So I remember he sat me down at his desk, and he told me, he said, hey, I heard that you want to leave. And I said, yeah. He said, well, I would ask that you not leave. Please don't go. Like, we did really great in the playoffs last year. We almost made it to the state Final Four. We have a great chance going to the state Final Four this year. Stay here and continue to help build this program up. You're a very integral part of this team, which I was. And I was like, no, I don't want to be here. And he's like, why not? Give him, I'm a teenager, 17 at the time. Just a little stupid first world teenage problems. Man, he was like, look, this is what I'll do for you. He said, if you stay here at this school, I will personally take you underneath my wing and let you. He said, I'll let you come work for me. And I was like, I don't want to work for you. I said, I see what you do with the other players that work for you. They making copies and da 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 da. I don't want to do that. He was like, no. He said, I'm not gonna have you doing what they do. He said, I'm gonna have you come underneath me, and I'm gonna teach you the business and how I've made so much money. And I was like, oh wow. Now, real quick, this is the same man that when we went on our Christmas, our holiday tournament, our Christmas holiday tournament, like he bought out a whole restaurant, so it was just us in the restaurant. He went to like one of those little fun PlayStation things with the games and the bumper cars and all of that. Bought that entire thing out, so it was just us there, and we can do whatever we wanted to do. Bought out an entire movie theater for us. Like, this is the type of money he had for us. So he wasn't just some six figure guy. Never owned six figures, but he had some money, and I was like, oh wow. And so I looked around and I thought about it, and then my 17-year-old brain said, nah. And that's because I was too busy focusing on all the things and not being grateful about the circumstance that I was in. Because first off, somebody was paying for my tuition to go to a private school. I didn't even know who was paying for it. I just had somebody come, hey, such and such is paying for your tuition is taken care of. Don't worry about it. You good? Da 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 da. I had no idea, none of that. With me being ungrateful, I didn't even realize how important I was. A lot of people would have wished they was in my circumstance, in my situation. Didn't even realize, how grateful I was for that situation. I was being ungrateful. And by me being ungrateful and focusing on all of the things that were not important, what ended up happening was I ended up missing out on a life-changing opportunity. Not only was it a life-changing opportunity for myself, but that information that man could have given me not only would have changed my life, but would have changed the life of my family around me. Because this is like, those of y'all who know me, those of y'all who have done my consultation services, those of y'all who are friends with me, you all understand, like, I love passing out information. Like, when I learn something, I want to tell as many people as I can about it, because I want to see everybody win. This ain't just about me. And so that would have been information that I could have passed along to my family, which would have changed their life. That would have information that would have changed my life. I would have been able to set something up for my children. Like, that would have changed their lives and then their children's lives. But because I wasn't being grateful, my ungratefulness literally changed the trajectory of my family's life, because I missed out on an opportunity.